Believe it or not, it was 15 years ago that Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast, leaving behind catastrophic damage and thousands dead. The storm forever changed New Orleans, where broken levees put 80% of that city underwater. In the aftermath of the storm, thousands waited 5 days for federal help, and lawlessness began to set in. Lieutenant General Russell Honore, a 40-year military man, arrived on the scene, helping to restore the calm and becoming one of the pivotal figures in the city's immediate recovery. I lived in New Orleans back in 2005 and had the chance to speak with Honore just a few days ago on August 29th. That's the exact day Katrina made landfall back in 2005. I talked to Honore about what he remembers from those very dark days and about what lessons America should and did take away from that unprecedented disaster.
In my mind, and like it happened yesterday, we arrived in New Orleans at 9:40 at the Superdome, in a sight I will never forget. That's dittoed in the top of my mind. Is flying around the Superdome a couple times as the pilots surveyed the landing zone, and to see some 15,000 people all looking up at that helicopter simultaneously, only thinking, is this our ride out of here? And to get off that helicopter and to look into their eyes, Rob, that was a sight I'll never forget.
Every day, while the situation for the people who are stranded becomes more intolerable, we are building a capacity to address that by evacuation and to get them to a more safe and secure environment.
They arrived there Sunday, this was Wednesday morning, and they were still waiting to be evacuated. I'll never forget that sight.
What is your most vivid memory of those early days, and does it feel like 15 years?
It's always an emotional time of the year because we know there's a big circle around that date because about almost 2,000 people lost their lives in Katrina, in Mississippi and Louisiana. And we knew, the government realized after that we could have done better with evacuation. The government realized they could have done better with reinforcing levees. And the government realized that they could have done better with post-storm response in getting there quicker.
What, as a country, should be the lesson, even 15 years later, that we take from that storm?
You've got to assume, without unequivocally, that if you don't move quickly, the majority of the people are going to die are poor people, the poor and the elderly, the vulnerable population. All the people with 2 or 3 cars and homes have already left. The death toll will be taken around that generic population of elderly, disabled, and poor. Who is wetter when it floods? The poor. Who is colder when it's cold? The poor. And who is hotter when it's hot? The poor. So go where the poor people live and you can save more lives because you're going to find more people there. So we need to take into account that vulnerable population. It's just like the impact of COVID-19. It has a disproportionate impact on the poor and the elderly.
Tell folks who may not have been there since the storm or remember more vividly a pre-Katrina New Orleans, talk a little bit about the city's recovery and how far it has come since those dark days of August '05.
What came out on the other side of Katrina was most of those schools were rebuilt, many of them brand new schools. They've got a $114 billion levee system. Much of the city infrastructure has been replaced or repaired. The city also ended up with some internal gates that prevent the water from coming in from tidal surge. But all of that still only rebuilt back the city to Category 3 level protection in 100 years. And we know a Category 4 or Category 5 could hit New Orleans and it will flood again. It had great potential of flooding again. We built a 12-foot fence, but we could get a 14-foot storm. And the levees can be overtopped again, or it can be broken by Mother Nature.
Thank you not just for the interview, but for what you did for a city I love 15 years ago during arguably its darkest days. That cannot be and will not be forgotten, sir. So thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. And whatever comes next, keep on keeping on, as they say, and I appreciate your time.